very crucial for this mixture.
And you will need plenty of water for the mixture.
We will give you measurements as we are making.
And for the wands, we will use these dowels.
They we are using 3/8 of an inch thick dowels, but you can make them any length.
And then we will also be using some weight to put at the end of our wands. So we will also be using 100% cotton rope, or you can also use baker's twine.
You can get them on Amazon, but you have to make sure that they say 100% cotton. It is very important for this. We will also be using a screw eyelet. You can use any size. And those will be your ingredients. But you will also need something to put the mixture in.
We
So
recommend
a tote.
Yeah. And it has to be like large.
Huge.
So
Let's get started.
Jinx. So we will start with making the wands. So you will need the screw eyes and the dowels. So you will first screw these into the dowels, like right there, like right in the middle of the top. So now that you've screwed them in, they should look something like this. Like the eye part will be sticking out and the screw will be inside of the dowel. So since we are making smaller ones, we will be using 50 to 60 inches of baking twine. And I mean, it doesn't really matter what size, like what length you do, just don't want it too long. So this second string needs to be about half the length of this first string that we're going to use for our wands. Unraveling is, so we will make it to about here or so. So now you take some of your weight. You're going to be using 2 washers for this and put it on your long string. Not your shorter one, your long one.
And let it fall right down to the middle.
So then you tie a knot right above your weight, so your weight will stay on the string.
In the middle of the string.
So then you put the long string with the weight in the eyelet. You just put it through here, and then you tie a knot here. So that now that you've tied your string to the dowels, your long string, you'll do this exact same with this short string. So once your strings are tied, then it should look something like this.
Now that we've made the smaller wand, we also made a bigger wand with the bigger string and the bigger dowels. And the string length was about 100 for the longer one and the 100 inches, and 50 inches for the shorter one.
And we just did the same way how to do it.
And we tied it to a carabiner on either side.
So it's just easier for the knots.
Now that we've made the wand, we can start with the mixture. So you will be wanting to use about 30 to 50 ounces of dish detergent. We are using about half of 100 ounces, so we will be using 50 ounces. And just go ahead and pour it right on it.
Oh, that's so satisfying.
Oh, there went the last thing. It looks like green slime.
It does. So you don't want like all of this. I mean, you can have it, but you don't want it.
The internet actually recommends using a soap that doesn't have, quoting this, unnecessary ingredients. We haven't tried it yet because ours worked fine with this type of soap. So now we are going to be pouring in the J-Lube. We are going to be using about 1.5 tablespoons. You can use really anywhere between 1 and 2 tablespoons, so that is why we are using 1.5. It's almost like baby powder.
Oh no. So now we're going to pour it in. That is so satisfying.
So now we are going to be putting in 3 teaspoons of baking powder. Not baking soda, baking powder. It is exploding.
Haha.
That looks so weird. You don't have to flunk
3. Okay, that's it.
Now we're going to stir. We are going to be using this spatula thingy. But really, you can just use anything.
Oh, that's and I would not recommend like dipping your hands in it because it's not slime. It's entirely soap.
And weird powders.
Yeah. That looks like baby powder. Victor? Can I stir some? And then we add the water. Literally looks like slime.
It should start looking like a thick gel or a thick slime after you've stirred in all of the powder. If it doesn't, then add a little more J-Lube, like I am now. That's a noise. Now you'll want to keep stirring until it starts to look like a thick slime.
Like really thick. It's not really slime, it's just
Yeah,
so
please don't touch it. Make sure you stir in between each gallon. The reason you want to stir in between each gallon is because the mixture will get really clumpy and you do not want that. Also, make sure you don't get a lot of bubbles.
like we did.
Here is our mixture. It is now completed after 3 gallons of water and all the things that we did in the garage. Now we are ready for bubbles. Woo! So once you've finished making everything, your wands should look something like these 3 down here. We have our big one, which can get really heavy, but makes really good bubbles. We have this middle one right here.
It's a grid, so we tied some strings in between to make smaller bubbles out of these.
And then we have this one, which is the one that we showed you earlier. It is one of my personal favorites with the smaller sticks and not as heavy weights, and it can stay really lightweight while you are making bubbles.
Yeah, honestly, I think these smaller ones do like a better job with bigger bubbles, which is actually pretty surprising. And they are very lighter and easier to use.
I chose to start with the smallest one, so you're going to go ahead and put it in the mixture and let it soak for a little bit. And then once it's soaked, you're gonna pull it out together and pull it apart and walk backward.
Oh, this is so cool!
And to close the bubble, never mind.
That's so cool.
This is awesome.
Like, it's actually really cool.
And then you can always go back for more. And to close the bubble, you just put your strings together.
So if your bubbles are not long lasting, then you can always add more baking powder so they last longer in the air.
And if you would like to close your bubbles, then go ahead and repeat the steps. Maybe not that time. But
Pull your things together.
pull the strings together as Colette is demonstrating.
So these bubbles actually do better. They last longer when it's cooler and humid outside. So you would want the air to be like pretty humid for this. So, yeah. So now I'm going to use the huge one.
And I'm going to pop all our bubbles. I'm going to be Bubble Ninja.
So this one is, the bigger one is the one with the 100% cotton rope. Oh, this is so much bigger.
So these bubbles are reaching about 5 to 6 feet long. But when it gets a little more humid, we are going to add a little more baking powder to make them a little longer.
Dun, dun, dun. Hey, you almost hit me with the magnet.
Well, with the weight. I touched it.
That was so cool.
It went right through and didn't pop.
You fell off the step.
No. It went right through and didn't pop.
It went right through and didn't pop. It went right through and didn't pop. It went right through and didn't pop.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Addison and Colette's World.
Stay tuned for more challenges and experiments and other things like this.
Bye. Don't forget to subscribe.
And like this video.